Good morning, everybody. Empowered Soul Network. It's another great day, Tuesday, and I am in my morning, 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and I'm already engaging the world. I'm across the pond with Kate Hunter. She is an intuitive executive coach, an abundance activation coach. I love that. I love the sound of that abundance activation. That just has such a melody to it. So, Kate, want to welcome you here to Empowered Soul Network.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, absolutely. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK, so you are global, broadcasting out across the universe.
There we go. There we go. I talked to a guy South Korea last night, South Africa earlier in the day. So, yeah, this is just a wonderful experience. So, welcome here. We just want to really hear more about you and your journey and your story. So, Kate, what are you most passionate about lately, and why is that? What's happening for you that's elevating and lifting you up?
What a juicy question. What am I most passionate about? My passion is being of service here. So in my human form, being of service to humanity in some way. And I've worked out that that's what most human beings are striving for, is to find what they call their purpose. It's what I call my soul's mission. And it's in the last sort of 10 years or so that I found myself really awakening to what that really truly looks like, aside from all the programming. So what I will do is help people reconnect back to themselves. Excuse me. That's to make sure I'm here. I am here. Reconnect back to themselves and find that passion for themselves, find that soul's mission, because that's when we really start living. When we are on our soul's mission, things become easier. Life becomes easier. It's not always easy, but it's easier than feeling that discomfort of, heading in the direction that doesn't feel aligned to you, or, working in a 9 to 5. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if your passion isn't there, if you don't find a sense of purpose in what you are doing, then life ends up in a box. So I'm helping people break outside of that, kind of outside of their limitations, outside of their box that they've placed themselves in, and unlearn all the things that got them into that box in the first place through the school systems and the programming and the societal beliefs, and then really kind of like look up and look out there and inside too, so that they can find and reconnect with who they really are at a soul level, how they can be of service in this world, and therefore then how they are activating abundance as their divine birthright anyway, because they are on their path, they're on their soul's mission. That's what I'm really passionate about.
Ah, beautiful. That's just beautiful. So take us back to how did that all start for you when you were looking down and not up, but what was happening for you in your life that was beginning to build that desire for the change? What happened for you?
Yeah, I think the same thing has happens as many people. Something in your external world mirrors back to you the discomfort.
Hmm.
And for me, that was um, a growing sense of anxiety, actually, of where I was. So my physical body was giving me symptoms.
Mm.
And I actually burnt out in the corporate world because of it, because when I was able to then rewind and look at life, I wanted to please everyone. I was a perfectionist. I wanted to over deliver, over perform, overachieve. And that was my template. That's how I saw the world. And it was like, I was very much an empath, a highly sensitive person, and helping and supporting others. One of my careers first was actually teaching. So helping and supporting others on their journey, but I had very hard and tight rules for myself. So my internal belief systems kept me in a prison. And then because with that is subconscious to us, 97% of what goes on for us is subconscious. It's running the show. And until we make that conscious to us, it will just keep running the show. So sometimes the human form, the vessel, will give us signs and signals. And for me, it was anxiety and stress related symptoms. And eventually I burnt out. And I actually didn't understand what that meant at the time. I thought anxiety, we're going back kind of 12, 15 years here. And it wasn't it wasn't talked about as prevalent in the world. I was in the corporate world and it wasn't spoken about. Um, And body showed me that I wasn't on my path. I wasn't fulfilling my mission. I wasn't aligned with the true sense of who I was. And because I thought anxiety was something that happened to other people that were nervous, or that was, I really didn't understand it. I wondered how somebody could become so anxious that they would have panic attacks, and that's what happened to me. And it was through a process of reaching rock bottom, really having to give in, because I was adamant I wasn't giving in to the very last second until no more could I carry on. And found myself sitting in a car park, a supermarket car park. So picture the scene. It's kind of a grey, cloudy, rainy day in the UK, and I'm sitting in a car park, and I'm meant to be on my way down to a beautiful part of England, which is Cornwall. And I was meant to be meeting one of my team. So I was a sales manager at the time, and I was meant to be out and about in the field and meeting one of my team. And this perfect storm had happened of life, and it reached a pinnacle point. And that was my pivotal moment, sitting in a supermarket car park, surrounded by grey and rain, and thinking, I can't even drive right now. I can't. The panic was so prevalent in my body, I couldn't even drive down the motorway. And I had to give in. And that's hard for a perfectionist. That's who I was. That's my template. You keep going, you keep going. I don't know if you've been there. But I called a friend and I said, I need help. And lucky for me, she was around and available, and she came and sat in my car next to me and said, You've got to phone in sick today. You've got to cancel this. You've got to cancel this meeting. And all I kept hearing in my mind was, I can't. I can't. And I think that becomes the template for so many people, is what will people think? If I put my hand up and say, I'm suffering, I can't. I don't know how to do it, this life this way. I don't know how to reach out and say I need help. So that was huge for me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was at the time excruciating. But these things happen for us, not to us. And we can either get into that victim mentality and say, oh my gosh, this is awful. But actually, it made me go within. After a few weeks of trying to unravel the physical symptoms and calm my nervous system down, I was able to get help and say why, what is going on internally for me. And that's when I met a wonderful soul who is a hypnotherapist, and he explained to me, I wanted the explanation. He explained to me how the brain works, and that really ignited the passion around neuroscience for me as well. It's like, I love neuroscience, I love metaphysical magic, but together they work as this beautiful blend. And I think many souls go through this. Hopefully some people watching, this will resonate with them. They've had their own rock bottom. They've had their own version of that, where they've questioned things and questioned the way that they do things. I wonder, Paul, for yourself, has there been a moment in time that you can think of where
Oh,
actually
sure.
you had to unravel to expand, to actually get that soul expansion again, and then start to look at life differently?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I mean, you'll hear me talk about that in my interviews. It's incredible journey. Take us through for just a minute, because I think that sometimes, my experience, people have that reticence to change because they can't see where they're going.
Mm.
So take us to that next, if you could, Kate, take us to the next step. Once you started receiving help, what did you begin to change, and what were the changes that you saw outside? How did people start to treat you? And if we describe that journey, I mean, it could be incredibly of service to people, so if they can realize that it's safe to make that change and so forth. How did
Mm.
that happen for you?
Yeah, well, first thing I want to say is you don't have to get to rock bottom to make a change, right? Actually, I want to get, when I work with clients, I'm hoping to get to them before they get to that point. For me, it had to happen in that way, and that's okay. And that was to fully surrender to the fact that there's other possibilities for myself to change, to be a different way. And for other people, it is about really recognizing, um, it's doing a bit of what I call a life audit, I guess. It's like looking at the holistic elements of your life. So taking a bird's eye view. I have a nifty little tool that's based on the wheel of life, and I call it the life compass, because it's just that pause for people to airlift and look at the kind of core elements of their life and where things are going really well and where things are not as aligned, and they're feeling that experience either emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever, on a soul level, they're feeling that disconnect. um, and so, I was the epitome of somebody who believed that I had to be a certain way, be in the world in a certain way, and always over delivering. And it wasn't sustainable. And I fully believed that failure wasn't an option. So again, we have to be really clear, get really clear on what we are defining as a success for us, and what are we defining as failure. Because I had a very fixed mindset about those things. And until someone was able to hold the space for me and ask me questions about what I really believed and make it conscious to me, until I could really understand those belief systems, I couldn't do anything with them. So for people really wanting to make a change, it's identifying which areas of your life do you want to change, and celebrate the parts of your life where you're content and happy with those things. But actually, what beliefs are sitting underneath those life areas? What's underpinning that? Because your experience of what's not working and what's not going to your liking is probably sitting with your belief systems. And until we really look at those belief systems and bring them out into the daylight, they are running on autopilot.
So, what's an example of the belief system that you did change because you had a certain mindset about what success was? You had a certain pattern of moving that forward in your life. What changed, and then as that changed, what did you see change? What was the result of that change? Because if you can describe that, the people that are watching and listening, they'll have that sense of, so she did that, and I want to move away from that. Here,
Mm,
wow, this is what I can move to. What happened for you, Kate?
yeah. For me, it was, I think I had a really rigid set of rules around believing that I could only go forwards. So, in terms of my career and the direction or the elevation of my career. And really, now I don't believe that at all. I believe careers are squiggly and they go all over the routes, and you can do many different things, and they can um, evolve into many different things along the way, as long as you allow that flow to happen. At the time, it was very rigid. It was the only way is up, and therefore taking a step down would be failure. And that was something the universe brought to me. It was in that moment of um, I was in a role that wasn't aligned to my overall mission. It was a conflict, presenting a conflict to my values, some of the things that I had to do. It wasn't supporting my world, and my belief systems weren't supporting at the time. So I had to make a choice, and it was to take a step down from where I was in this management role. And the ego part of me didn't like that one bit, right? And so our egos can get very caught up in decisions and choices that we're making because of a rigid set of rules that we've created. And mine was, I can't go backwards. What will people think? And so I had this very real experience of, well, I need to remain in a job, but I can't remain in this job, because I'm gonna really do something drastic here if I continue in this path. And so I was presented with the option of taking a step down. And as I say, ego did not like it. It was earning £10,000 less a year. It was a real humble moment. It was becoming a member of the team in which I then managed. So all the belief systems that weren't working for me were able to surface and come out, and I was able to work with them. And I realized something through that physical process of taking a step down and being alongside my peers again, and was actually people really don't care for very long. And all of the obsession that I had with what will people think? They'll judge me. They'll think I'm a failure. They'll this, they'll that, da, 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 didn't really exist. And if it did exist, it might have existed for a nanosecond because most human beings are caught up in their own heads and their own journeys and their own belief systems. So, there might have been a tiny element of judgment from people, but it passed quickly. And so I was able to see in real time that, if I can do this big, lofty thing that my ego doesn't want me to do, and it be okay, and it be more than okay, because it's allowed me now space to breathe and reflect and look at what I really want and still get paid whilst I was doing that, and then took me in a whole different direction. That is that's where the learning is looking at that and saying, okay, well, it's not as big as I was making it out. It's not as huge as my ego would like me to believe it to be. And so therefore, where are my beliefs serving me? And where are they not serving me? Where are they putting me in a prison and keeping me limited?
Wow, beautiful. This beautiful story. I know people can resonate with all that, the energy of not really doing what I really want to do, all the outer motivation. Everything
Mm.
motivates me from the outside, and the motivation is not there from the inside. Talk to us a little bit about abundance activation, because I can see that because you did that, now suddenly the abundance of life begins to show up. You've actually activated it from a whole unique point of view. So, how did that happen for you? What did you see as a result of all that?
Yeah, I mean, so abundance activation really means, for me, it means activating all parts of your life so that they feel abundant. And what abundance means to you is very unique to you. Um, but activating your soul's mission, activating your highest self in the element of, the passion element of your life, in your relationships, in your sense of freedom, in your joy, in your happiness. And for me, it was learning about energy, essentially, learning that we are all energy, we are all beings of frequency. And so it really, really interested me when I did my inner work. And then I realized that beliefs were essentially what we present to the world, that our feelings and our thoughts create our feelings create the way that we behave and take action in this world. And I started to read about law of attraction and, manifesting and, the metaphysical stuff, and that we are frequency. So every cell of our body is emitting a frequency based on how we are feeling. And how we are feeling and being in this world creates our reality, right? So it was like, well, this is a choice then. This is another choice I have. This is another template that I get to break, is to notice where there are certain topics that I might be tend to be of more of a fixed mindset, or take me into igniting the victim mode, or my inner drama queen, as I like to call her. It's like, where are the topics in life where I get pulled in a different frequency, in a different direction? So abundance activation is about raising awareness of those things so that you can bring yourself back, bring yourself back into alignment. It's an ongoing journey. It's a real journey. But you get to level up in the areas that you want to level up with when you understand everything is frequency and everything is energy.
Beautiful. Yeah, we mentioned how abundance can be something different for everybody. Well, let's brainstorm that a little bit, because I think people having that thought about, oh, that's abundant. Oh, you know, wow, look at this new coffee cup I got. This is so cool. It doesn't leak when I turn it upside down. That's abundance, right? What are some
Mm.
examples of abundance for you? I'm looking out at the beautiful sunrise, and all that. That makes me feel abundant. How about it? What are some of the unique, different ways to think about abundance? that we might give
Yeah,
people some stimulation today.
yeah, the more that you track abundance, the more that you notice it, the
Mhm.
more that you will see of it. So, a lot of people come to me talking about lack of time and lack of this and lack of that.
Mm.
And actually, when you start to shift into an abundance of time mindset, or an abundance of support or love, or an abundance of wisdom, an abundance of friendship, abundance of connection, an abundance of uh, available parking spaces. Like it literally goes. You start to play this game almost, and when it becomes a game, it's joyful. I will notice an abundance of the smaller things in life because that amplifies everything else. But when I step away from the habit of tracking abundance, it it minimizes the view of it. So as you say, that beautiful coffee cup, if somebody gives it to you, it's an abundance of thoughtfulness. It's an abundance of the fact that when I look at it, I feel joyful. So really, it's about the feeling that things, experiences, opportunities give you. Because when you're in the feeling of that, that's when you will see more of it. Um, but when you are in, and this is an interesting thing. So abundance is many different things, and it's a frequency match. So you will match the abundance of things in your life when you become a frequency of it. But when you tip over into wanting and needing something and almost demanding abundance, you're out of flow with it. So if you want more love and you need more love in your life, that is a very different energy to noticing where, wow, I'm so supported. I've noticed today that someone stepped up and they supported me, and that's a show of love. But it's about where we place our attention and how that creates a feeling. And so many people, when they talk about abundance, they can tip over into getting a little bit too hyper focused on a kind of in an obsessive way, and that tips over into something called manic manifesting. And it's a beautiful balance. It's a blend of noticing how you feel when you notice an abundance of something and
So,
expanding that.
yeah, so you're stimulating me to think about how a lot of times people, I know for me, when they come to me, that there's this idea that abundance is there and
Mm.
it's coming to me. Talk about the energy of the abundance of giving out. How can people recognize the abundance of what they are expressing?
Yeah, that's beautiful because actually that is one of the highest frequencies. So gratitude and also being of service. And so if you are trying to activate, and I use the word activate as a real reason, because it's not out there. Abundance isn't out there attracting to you. Actually, it's within you already and it exists. You are becoming a frequency match for it. So when you think it's out there, you're creating a gap, and there's the resistance. And when you have resistance, it's hard to bring it, into your reality. So actually noticing how you are being of service activates abundance within your reality too. When you would like to see some evidence of something specific manifested into your reality, if you back it with an element of service, it elevates it to a higher level, even more. So yeah, it's beautiful. Notice where you are resonating at that frequency of abundance with your time. Maybe you're giving your time and your energy, and you're doing it without expecting something back. You are sharing with the world because of the joy of sharing, not because you're expecting something. Um, and just notice where you are with that. Like when you're in your joy talking about something specific and passionate about, hey, there's a clue. There's a clue about how you are meant to be of service in this world. The things that we find most joyful and could talk about for hours on end, that is a clue around your soul's mission for sure. And that is abundance right there, that wisdom and understanding about yourself.
When you have found that really flowing for you as a coach and so on, And there are a lot of people that are listening who are coaches at varying levels of expressing that, some that are beginning that, some that have been around for decades doing that. When you have found yourself having given that service, what have you felt inside of you as a result of that? That how does that? Do you feel more organized? Do you feel more impassioned? Do you feel more elevated, relaxed? Like, yes, I've done that. What happens for you, Kate, when that service has been expressed?
I feel ignited, so I feel really ignited. I feel like this buzzing energy for me when it's really, and I actually physically feel it too. So when I'm really connecting with someone, especially if I'm sharing intuitive information that I'm
Mhm.
receiving and I'm sharing it, I get a wave of goosebumps throughout my body. Like
I
it's
just got them.
literally like,
Just
did
got them.
you?
Yeah,
Oh,
been
okay.
getting them all day.
So, and that's what other people say back to me too. Is like, oh gosh, I just got goosebumps, and I know actually that's become a key indicator to me. Is like, and so that's unique for everybody. That's not a given that you get goosebumps. It may be for you that you just get a wave of like joy or a wow, it takes your breath away a little bit or something, or you feel very peaceful and calm. It might be the opposite. You know, for me, when I'm being of service, it doesn't feel like work, doesn't feel like I'm here for a reason for work. It just feels like I'm having a beautiful conversation with Paul and people are listening and I feel guided to share a message and the connections will happen if they're meant to. And it's remaining detached to the outcomes as well is really, really important, especially if you're a coach and you can get caught up in the world of marketing and how to onboard clients and things like that. There's a fine balance between doing and being, like being of the energy of your, holding the space for clients to flow in with ease. And it is an ongoing work, it's an ongoing piece. And that's why it's not about mastery, I would say. It's about continually just auditing where you are and bringing yourself back into flow and knowing yourself. What do I need to do to get back in flow? Well, I need to go for a walk in nature, or I need to take some deep breaths, or I need to watch something elevating and uplifting that really speaks to my soul.
Beautiful. So, Kate, an interesting question. I've asked this before, and it's always so fun to look at it. If the Kate from 5 years ago or 10 years ago were to be observing the Kate today, how would that Kate describe the Kate of today?
That's
What
an
words,
amazing
what
question.
what ideas, what thoughts would, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking in chunks now. So the one 5 years ago was just starting out in business,
Yeah.
actually. Um, so she would be very proud that the business still exists, that it's growing, that, but more so around, wow, how has it evolved? It's evolved into a certain level of really that's what I probably wanted to do back then as well, but I felt like I should package it up differently. But now I'm speaking more authentically about everything to do with who I am and on a spiritual level and my gifts and, those real intuitive extra talents that I have. And I'm out there with it now. So I think that 5 years ago would be really proud of where I am now. 10 years ago, I don't think Kate from 10 years ago
Uh,
could really articulate where I'd be right now, right? It's not like 10 years ago I went, right, in 10 years' time, I'm going to be an abundance activation coach and I'm going to work with clients on this, and this, and this. It wouldn't have existed then. And that's kind of a key point for people is to understand that your soul's mission will evolve over time. And your role is to start with what brings you joy and be open enough for it to be expanding all the time. If I asked you, Paul, 5 years ago, would you have known that you would be here interviewing various souls for Empowered Souls Network?
I didn't know that 6 months ago.
Didn't know that 6 months ago. Amazing. Yeah.
So here's the thing, guys, the people that are listening, if you're piecing all this together, the kid 5 years ago is now seeing an amazing, authentic, gifted, giving, talented, coach being of service and so on. And that's the message that I'm hearing from you today, Kate, is that you start back and just start looking at and acknowledging what you want, what's happening and where you want to go. Look at what happens.
Mhm.
Amazing, beautiful abundance of energy out there. That's just
Yeah.
great. How can we get in touch with you, Kate? This has just been an awesome interview. How can we reach you?
So I mainly hang out on LinkedIn actually, because that's where a lot of my clients find me. So
Mhm.
I'm the abundance activation coach, Kate Hunter on LinkedIn. Um, I am on present on Facebook a little bit, but
Okay.
it's mainly LinkedIn. I can put the links to my
Yeah.
LinkedIn website, things like that. If people want to reach out, have a conversation, more than welcome. I'd love to start interviewing people too. So, or if other people have networks that they want to do interviews on, then I think the more of us having these conversations openly and really helping others awaken their soul's mission and be out there in the world fully authentic, feeling good. It is exactly what the world needs, right? So it may feel like a conversation, but it has more ripple effects than that. It's going to ignite something for somebody, hopefully today, and that's amazing. It just brings me so much joy to just know that that's possible on a global level as well. As you say, you speak to many people over the world, as do I, and it's just like actually right here, right now, we can access all parts of the globe and make an impact.
It's amazing. Yeah, and that's exactly what Empowered Soul Network. And there's some other colleagues of mine that are doing amazing work with this to give voice to people. And it's amazing. Some people may not have as strong of an organized service or as what we're talking about, but just getting out there and telling your story. You never know who you're going to touch and reach. And there's 8 billion stories out there that are amazing and powerful. So, Kay, thank you so much for being here. Stick around for just a minute and we'll chat afterwards. But just so love and appreciate you. Look for Kate's information underneath the live streaming. Make comments, let other people know about it. It's a great opportunity to connect and build, activate yourself, and be abundant today. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Empowered Soul Network. We got more interviews coming up later today, and tomorrow's a huge day. 6 interviews tomorrow, so you're definitely going to want to tune in your right timing. Thank you, everybody.